You're listening to the Ecosystem Approach show. I'm Jason.
And I'm Patricia. Tune in every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time and 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Transformation Talk Radio.
We discovered that human potential is severely limited when you program humans like a machine, which is standard practice today for self-improvement.
The ecosystem approach teaches you how to uncover your infinite potential by using natural methods that are truly revolutionary. Join us now for the Ecosystem Approach show. Today, we're talking about time travel. In this show, we'll talk about how to use it for everyone and how it's universally practical for day-to-day activities. Going back in time is easy, but what makes it come alive and be extremely useful is the special advantage we have using the ecosystem approach. This is a fascinating show. We are married intuitives with over 25 years experience who created the ecosystem approach. This is a groundbreaking way to see yourself in this age of Aquarius. We help you unleash healing and potential that is unknown today and is totally unique to you personally. This is not your typical type of energy work. We help you with life-changing internal discovery that is powerful, rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Jason, what do you mean by time travel and what is it exactly?
It's about going back in time, using your imagination, but the way we do it has a special advantage.
Okay. I by the way, I have used this, can I say method? Would that be this protocol?
It's an approach.
It's an approach. Thank you.
We've been using it today.
Exactly. We were using it today, and I've already discovered some things that were actually kind of surprising to me, but I sort of knew.
And we're going to talk about it later in the show. Yeah.
So, all right. So, Jason, special advantage.
What makes our method so special is that when you go back in time in your imagination, it's fairly easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get there, you can use the ecosystem approach, our clearing method, to clear the trauma or the memory of the time that you're trying to visit.
Okay.
And the clearing is what makes all the difference.
Yeah.
So it's one thing to go back and remember a difficult situation.
Okay.
But people don't want to do it. It's hard to do it.
Well, because you get stuck there.
You get stuck there, or it's uncomfortable.
Very much. Yes. Yeah.
But if you can use the clearing, you can start changing the energy.
Yes,
and when you change the energy back then, it changes your life today.
Exactly.
It's amazing. And I've heard psychological techniques where you go back in your imagination and you imagine a different movie than the one that was there.
Yes.
There's a problem with that. And we know it as intuitives, okay?
Correct.
Using your imagination to change the situation does not necessarily change the energy.
Yes. And you have to change the energy in order to
heal, to grow, to get better.
Those were my exact words, Jason.
Like minds think alike. Yes.
Something like that. Anyway, I'm making a joke, but the bottom line is that getting stuck. I want to repeat this. Without using the ecosystem approach, people get stuck there, and that bitterness only becomes, or the fear of a memory in the past only becomes more intense or more acute.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about charming either. It's really, it's amazing. So how about the benefit of time travel, Jason?
It allows you to go to past traumas, situations, difficult and embarrassing situations, and change the energy so it can change what happens today.
Yeah, that's sort of what you were talking about a minute ago.
It's exactly, yes.
Okay.
And talking about these situations, and if you're a therapist, if you're a family therapist, my apologies in advance, but as intuitives, and we've been doing this for 25 years, we see it so clearly. Talking about what's happened to you,
A situation.
does not necessarily change the energy. Now, sometimes it can.
Sure.
And that's why people are taught this over and over again in the psychological practices, that you have to talk about your feelings. That's not exactly true.
I spent way too much money on talking about my feelings. And of course, we all know, because I'm a four, talking about my feelings is like, giving me a box of chocolate. And the bottom line is that first off, the chocolate doesn't help, and neither does getting stuck in the old feelings.
It's just a form of recycling over
That's exactly
and over
right.
and over
and
again.
It does not serve anything. So, Jason, how do you do it?
Okay, let's talk about the nuts and bolts. Okay. The way I would do it, and this is going to be a little bit of a process, but once you do it a couple times, then it just happens.
It happens a lot easier.
Happens
Absolutely.
quickly and happens fast.
Yeah.
So relax, get into a relaxed state, hopefully in a place where there's not a lot of noise or distractions.
Correct.
Just like you're trying to meditate or whatever. Close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and imagine the situation, or picture it in as much detail as you can.
Okay.
See if you can remember the smell. See if you can remember the color. See if you can remember the time of day. All those things help activate the memory.
And even the feelings as you go into the situation.
Yeah.
Meaning that, okay, go ahead. There's one major point here.
You don't have to have all the details or a clear memory to make this
perfect,
usable.
Exactly.
And so, and don't force it the first time.
Oh, yeah.
One of the biggest questions we have is, well, what if I don't remember? What do I do? And it's think of it as layers. And so you go to the layer that
yes,
and start clearing that. That's what's amazing about clearing, as opposed to talking. When you clear it, all of a sudden you have insights and perspectives that you don't have otherwise.
Okay.
This idea of using these clearing methods, energy techniques around emotions is groundbreaking. It's radical. It puts this head and shoulders above anything else that's out there right now.
Exactly. Well, I'm going to ask the question.
Okay.
What if you have trouble remembering? What would someone do in that situation?
And this is kind of a go-to for us.
You don't have a clear picture, or it makes you uncomfortable. I'm sorry. I need to throw all those things out.
Well, so if it makes you uncomfortable, start with that. And to eliminate, and usually if people are uncomfortable, they're not just uncomfortable. They don't, hell no, I don't want to go there. No, I'm not going to go back there. You can't make me, that's
I'm not laughing at you. I get it.
So clear that feeling of, I'm not going to go back there. The fear of going back there.
And even the resistance of going back
or
there.
The hate of going back there.
And here's one more. How about the vulnerability that you, oh my God, if somebody says, I need
fear of the pain.
Exactly. Fear of the memory.
So start clearing those things first.
Yes. And by the way, great stuff will happen when you do that, because it's a form of energetic baggage that you've been carrying since the situation that you're completely unaware of.
So, and this is what we hear this all the time.
Yes.
I guarantee you this will happen to you. And people say, well, I did it and nothing happened.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All that means, people come to say, well, I did it and nothing happened.
Yeah.
And they say, it didn't work.
Yes.
It always works.
Yes, it does.
If it didn't work the first time, it means that there's a lot there. If there's a lot of resistance, if there's a lot of pain, if there's a lot of fear,
correct,
guilt, shame, whatever it is,
yes,
all that means is that you just have to keep clearing.
Well, and the other thing is that if there were, I did it and nothing happened, I would clear the resistance that you're holding on to, that says, if I see, if I feel, if I know what happened then, I won't be able to ever come back out. I'll shatter, so to speak.
Yeah.
I'll break. I won't be able to handle it. But the best thing in the world is that when you actually like clear the anger, and we are going to talk about this in the next segment, but the anger and the hurt of a situation, the bottom line is that then there's this relief of feeling powerless to what happened before.
Yes.
It's awesome.
And one of the most important parts is once you get there, is to see it from a third person perspective as an observer.
Yes.
So instead of going back to the emotions, let's say there was a car accident and someone died.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, I don't want to see that. So in your imagination, witness it. Instead of being in that car accident and remembering the metal and the screaming and the
sound and the glass,
all those things and the feeling the impact.
Yes.
Step outside of it and run it like a movie.
Yes. The first time I did this, I was a little reluctant, but I also knew that the situation I was stuck in, I'll say it that way, that happened. Well, that I was feeling today, but happened years ago. It changed my ability to be able to say, no, wait a minute, you've got the power, you have the understanding of getting through this. And it can't be any worse than when it actually happened.
Yeah. Yeah, and the third person perspective is really helpful. That's
really
helpful
important
for all sorts of other things.
Exactly.
It's really, really helpful.
Well, and we're going to talk more about that. So, Jason, what is the summary of this segment?
Time travel happens when you relax, close your eyes, and go back in your imagination to a time that was difficult or traumatic. Yes. Our special advantage is the ability to clear or remove the traumatic or painful feelings. This approach has great value for any type of trauma or struggle where the original trauma is constantly being repeated in your life. Any difficult situation can be resolved or overcome by using this method. If the memory of the trauma is fuzzy or incomplete, you should always clear veils and illusions or numbness to the situation. Once you start this process, you can get better and better with it, and painful memories will be changed and altered.
In the next segment, we're going to talk about how to go to the root of a situation, difficulty, or trauma, and the reason that is so important. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and me. I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about going to the root of a situation, difficulty, or trauma, and the reason it is so important. Jason, can you explain why going to the root is important and maybe even critical?
The root is an energy that contains rules and behaviors that constantly repeat.
Yes.
Now, this is a different way of explanation. I know in the psychological circles, they're all about going to the root and finding the source, which I agree with completely.
Okay.
But that source is an energy. So if you want to deal with that trauma, the way you do it is go to the root and then change the energy. It's amazing. It can be life changing.
Well, and so let's give some examples about this, Jason.
Well, and here's the last part, and then we'll talk about that. But if you don't do it, you play whack-a-mole for the rest of your life. So in other words, the root energy is working on you. It bubbles up, and there's something that's like that trauma that keeps coming up.
Correct.
Bad luck, illness, divorce, bad relationships, betrayals, all sorts of things like that.
That makes sense.
They keep coming up and up and up.
Yes. So let's talk about some examples here. And by the way, everyone, we talked about probably 20, maybe even 30, and we had to pick. It was difficult because we see this in so many places where people don't even realize that the root of how they're acting today came from, and I'll say it this way, yesterday.
So for some things, it's the root is seems simple. Okay,
Yeah.
let's say you had a parent die in a car accident. You were in the car.
Yes.
That's a trauma that's easy to identify and put your finger on.
Right.
But there's also situations that are not so easy,
Right.
and they create beliefs and behaviors and even frames or rules about your life.
Okay.
For example, being adopted.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, there have been so many kids that have been adopted, but they don't realize how that's impacted them. And frankly, it affects everyone differently.
Correct.
It makes a difference of not only that you were adopted, but what the family that you went to, how long from the time that you were born to the time that you were adopted.
Correct.
All those things make a huge difference.
And all the situations you went through in all of that.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes.
So that's one example, and there's infinite number of examples. But I'll just throw some out there just to stimulate. One of the big ones, we deal with this all the time. It's an issue for Patricia, being the black sheep of a family.
Yes.
When you're the black sheep, it's not like it's a trauma that you don't think of it as a trauma.
Not at all.
But it's something that's happened to you, and it's colors. It's like a frame.
Well, and it also colors how other people look at you.
How other people look, and then how you look at yourself.
And how you look at yourself, exactly.
It's huge.
Yes.
The death of a family member.
Correct. Especially a beloved one.
Abuse and the associated traumas. So whether it's sexual abuse, whether it's emotional abuse,
physical abuse.
Yes. You could have had a parent who was an alcoholic or a drug addict, or just a gambler. There's all sorts of things.
And all of the addictions that people have. And by the way, I don't know anybody who doesn't have at least one, if not many more. But if you go back and look at the root of what that addiction is, it's huge.
Yeah.
And by the way, I just need to say this. Someone I know, I'll be very nice about it, politically correct. Someone I know has a major shopping problem, and I know that this person didn't actually have it, that she was taught this by her mother because her mother believed she never had enough.
Yeah. It's one of those. That's a situation.
Yes, it is.
That you kind of absorb, and you don't see it as a trauma or a root situation at all.
In fact, this is fun. I get to go shopping. But what you're doing in that shopping addiction is you're covering up the pain of believing either you weren't good enough. I'm just giving examples. You weren't good enough, or you never had enough physical things to feel safe.
I raised my daughter with a lot of health food.
Yes.
In fact, when this was when I was in the military, and I was a single parent. She was 5, 6, 7.
Right.
And I was trying to find whole grain, whatever.
Yeah. Right.
Flours and things like that
at the time. Yeah.
And in the South, you go in the grocery store. That was at that time was really hard to find.
Yes,
so I even today that's probably a more positive one, but she still looks at the health benefit of the food that she eats.
Well, I have to say you did an amazing job with it, because there's times where certain things she can name off. This is good. This is good. This is good. That isn't, that kind of thing. Well, and it's amazing.
And I think she's forgiven me for the boxed macaroni and cheese that was sort of a staple.
No, she hasn't. But she also learned to put really good things in it.
So anyway, when the root's not clear, what do you do?
That's a good question.
It's never black and white, and it can be layers and different aspects of a person's life.
Yes.
For example, my father was critical and judgmental and jealous of me because my mother preferred me.
Yeah.
That wasn't my fault, but it truly affected me.
Yes, it did.
But another layer of that, and I'm just seeing that now. We take care of my mom who has dementia, and I see how possessive she's always been of me, but I didn't really realize it until now. And we see those behaviors, like there's almost like an entitlement that I'm supposed to take care of her, and that's just the way it's supposed to be.
That's correct.
And
Because as far as she was concerned, you are hers and she raised you
yes,
to take care of her.
and that kept me in a box and a cage of expectations
Mhm.
that isn't me. It was that box was over here, but
Right.
the authentic me is different than
Well,
that.
and here's a big question, and we didn't even talk about this, but it just popped in. Bottom line is did she ever think to ask you, what do you want?
Yeah.
Not once.
Well, and that's part of the possessiveness.
Exactly.
Your mind, so therefore,
My way.
I get to say it. And that was probably as toxic to me as my dad's, which I always thought he was the bad guy, which he still is, but it puts a little more perspective and balance. That stuff took years for that layer to
That's
be
correct.
uncovered and
That
to
is
see that clearly.
see the root of it.
Usually, if you have you gravitate toward one parent or another,
Yeah.
you see it as kind of black and white, good and bad.
Yes.
But if you look at it long enough, a lot of times you can see the bad on both sides.
Absolutely.
And usually that's the way dark energy is. So,
well, and remember, we are trained from the word go. You are not allowed to judge your parents.
Yeah.
So go ahead. So let's talk about the root when it's not identified. What does that mean, Jason?
that increases the struggle. The patterns repeat themselves, but the pattern's not clear exactly.
Yes.
And they repeat themselves over and over and over again, whether it's about overspending, like you mentioned, the mother who showed her daughter that fun was going shopping.
Yes.
Or there's all sorts of examples. This is where you start with an issue that you have today.
Yes.
I don't have enough money. So clear the veils and illusions so I can see why I don't have enough money. What's the core issue? What's the real issue? Keep clearing until you get some hints. And you'll get hints.
And you will.
And then you follow those. They're like threads. You follow those. It's like a little puzzle.
Right.
And you follow that and you clear some more and you clear some more. And that's how it works.
And pretty soon you're going to see that there's a thread, I'm going to say it this way, of things like, I don't deserve. I'm talking about like the pattern of shopping thing.
Yeah.
I don't deserve. I don't have the right. If I don't have enough, that means I'm unworthy.
Yeah.
Those are, and I'm not saying those are the absolute only things you, but are going to feel or see, but I'm talking about a thread that runs through that sort of a situation. So let's talk about the recycling of the root feelings or the traumas in your life, Jason.
When you go to the root and you start clearing that trauma, that situation, the pain of that situation, that sort of thing, that can jumpstart your own personal evolution. It's amazing, and we've worked with clients for over 25 years now. So they usually come to us with what's affecting them today.
Of course.
But if you can follow that thread back to the original, oh my gosh, that's where all the benefit happens.
Yeah.
That's where all the magic happens. And because if you don't, these patterns are like a prison. They're like curses that recycle in your life over and over. Yes. And when you're enslaved by old emotions or rules, the limitations are immense, and it truly affects who you are in the world and your ability to grow and develop.
Yes.
And if you play in these old energies, we see this more than anything else. People are stuck in the old patterns.
Yes.
Even though they want to get moved to another pattern, they keep going back there. And the reason is because they don't get to the root and they don't uncover the rules.
And the other thing is we do go back to what we are familiar with, even though we know what the the negative part of it
Yes.
is. That's
Yes.
and it's almost feels like human nature, but the truth is it's just programming.
We're going to talk about that in the next segment. Okay.
So, Jason, what is the summary of this segment?
We all have memories and struggles in our past, but we don't realize that these memories continue to affect us in negative ways. These root memories and struggles recycle in our life in ways that create problems and difficulties because they are the foundation of our negative emotions and circumstances that happen in our life. There are times when the root memory or situation is not clear, and you can use clearing methods taught by the ecosystem approach to remove the layers and lack of memories to slowly get to the root. Persistence is essential. The root traumas and situations can act like limitations or a cage that confines your ability to act in ways that are authentic to you. Using time travel to get to the source issues in your life and clear the pain, hurt, and guilt can be truly life-changing.
In the next segment, we're going to talk about how to perceive the most important part of an issue or trauma that recycles over and over again in your life. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about how to perceive the most important part of an issue or trauma that recycles over and over again in your life. Okay, Jason, what do you mean when you talk about the most important part of trauma or issue that recycles in your life?
The most important part are the rules or even curses that you make to yourself or you learn from others that are usually totally unconscious.
Okay. Is there an example or
we have to start so the examples of rules and curses.
Okay, thank you.
Scarlett O'Hara with Gone with the Wind. The most famous line in movies, "As God is my witness, I'll never be hungry again."
That's correct.
So that was a curse she made to herself.
Correct.
That's a great example of a curse. Now, this was obviously conscious, but because this happened during the Civil War.
That's right.
And there was a lot of poverty and the food was scarce and all those things.
Yes.
She didn't want to ever be hungry like that again. So I guarantee you that she made up rules that probably were unconscious about how she was going to make sure that she got money. Maybe she was going to, and I'm just jumping in there because, I know the movie.
Yes.
She would make sure that every man that had means, in other words, she wouldn't fall in love with a guy that that was broke.
Yes, she wouldn't do that.
Yes. I guarantee you she made that rule to herself, even though it might not have been conscious.
And by the way, I know a lot of, forgive me, women, but I know a lot of women who have basically used that rule.
Yes. Or she might have said, hey, I'm willing, that pain of hunger and poverty was so bad that I'm willing to do all sorts of things to get a man, so to speak,
to take care of me.
Yes.
Okay.
So if the man has money, it's
correct.
This is where the jealousy and the competition with other women and I'm gonna win, that sort of thing.
Right.
Who knows what kind of rules she created and kind of behavior. And we kind of know from her personality what kind of behaviors those would be, but you kind of get a hint. So I just brought that up because it's a good example. But when we're traumatized or have intense experiences, we create these unconscious rules for ourselves.
That is correct.
You came up with one today that I think was really good.
And was this about cleaning the bedroom? That one?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
It was. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
When I was younger, my sister and I, we shared a room, and one of my sisters and I shared a room, and my mother would come in on Saturday and she'd say, okay, you two, get this room cleaned up. There's other things to be done. And meaning other things that we'd have to clean up in the house. And so my sister, who's 18 months older than I am, she would go to my mother, and as soon as my mother would step out of the room and out of earshot, my sister would head either towards the bathroom or she would head outside. And it was so I could see what was going to happen. I didn't want to get in any more trouble with my mother, so I would end up cleaning the room. And if I went back today, if I used going back in time, time travel today, oh my goodness, how different it would have been, because I would have, number one, gone, found my sister somewhere, some way along the line, and said to her, I'm not cleaning up the mess anymore. And I need, why don't we just go do this together and we can get it done in half the time, that kind of thing. And not been mad, just stated the facts and then moved on. And then the other thing I could have done was I could have just cleaned up my half of the room and left her half.
But here's the main point, okay? And this is really, really key. So we're taking care of my mom who has dementia. She can't do anything in a straight line at all. She's
not anymore. She used to be able to, but not anymore.
You know, so she said, yeah, I'll do dishes. That's one of her chores, and she likes to do the dishes.
Yes.
But so she'll say, Patricia, can I do the dishes? Yeah, and Patricia says, yes, go ahead, do the dishes. Right. Okay. And then we'll go back out 15 minutes later. She's still sitting there.
Yep.
You know, half hour later, she's still sitting there. And this is the word you use. It makes me crazy. You get really angry. She gets really angry. And I'm thinking, well, okay, I understand.
That's the big deal.
The frustration. Yeah, the frustration. But I mean, the anger is just huge. And
what he doesn't understand, and what he didn't, and we didn't until today.
Yes.
We didn't understand that the anger that I'm feeling today about his mother
forgetting,
being incapable, was a direct connection to my past, where my sister would go, yeah to my mom, and then turn around and walk away and leave me holding the bag, so to speak.
Over and over and over again, you know.
Can't even imagine.
And so it's a great example.
Yes.
You know, I guarantee you there's all sorts of those things in your life.
Absolutely.
You know, we're gonna do some clearing next segment, but we're gonna see if we can find some of those things. So
okay.
So these frames, okay, where you're supposed to partner with someone.
Right. In other words, me and my sister.
Yeah. And you end up doing all the work.
Yeah.
Is a pattern that has been repeated in your life
over and over and over in my life
with other people and relationships.
And the thing that comes up, and I didn't even realize it, everyone, until today, the anger that rises, that I think, well, if I get rid of the anger, and this is a big point, if I get rid of the anger, that means my sister, gets to get away with whatever she was either told to do or she promised she would do. And the bottom line is if I get rid of the anger, I will be able to be more objective about how I deal with the situation, as opposed to using anger as my frame in a situation.
I mean, one of the things that happened in the early part of our marriage is that, you know, I know
what you're going to tell.
I'm a deep thinker. Okay.
Truly.
I think about these big concepts, and I love to do that. And I love to bring them to you on these shows, that sort of thing.
Yes.
But in the process, I could be going in the bedroom and taking off my clothes, and all of a sudden they're on the floor in the bedroom.
All of a sudden, everyone.
All of a sudden, you know, there's a form of unconsciousness on my part, and I admit to that.
Because you're off doing big thinking. I get that part.
You know,
but after you step over these things so many times.
Well, when she sees it, it's, oh my gosh. I mean, the anger and the rage, like it's almost like you left that there for me to pick up, and you're taking advantage of me, which is of course not that's
not his intention. And I realized it early on. But the point that he's talking about is that it built this construct, this frame that says, you, Patricia, have to be responsible for anything that isn't right in your I'm going to say in the frame of where you live. And so the bottom line is that you can do one of two things. I recommend highly that you will go back and remove those negative energies and how you felt about them, so you can become objective.
Choose a
about things.
different behavior,
Exactly.
different approach,
Choose
a
it,
different response.
and a different way, perspective in order to see it.
So this is what you need to do to understand the frames that repeat.
There you go.
Okay. Look at your life and see what issues, situations, and frames that repeat in your life.
Yeah.
Like relationship failures, divorce, betrayal,
Yes.
abandonment.
Yes.
You know, do those things keep coming up? Money issues, chronic overspending, negative risk taking, refusal to spend money. All those things
Yes.
could be patterns. Life issues, bad luck, risk taking, that sort of thing.
And there's more.
We've heard so many people, everything always happens to me. I'm such a victim, blah,
Correct.
blah, blah, blah. Where did that start from? That
Yes.
sort of thing.
Yes. Yes.
So, this was a good example too. I don't know if we have time for it. You saw your mother blame yourself whenever
Blame herself.
Yes, whenever your mentally disabled daughter, her daughter, your sister,
My sister
had a seizure, and she would say, "What did I do?" And what you learned was that when bad things happen, when illness happens, or things that really have nothing to do with you,
But I was blamed for them.
well, you would blame yourself.
I would.
You saw your mother blame herself.
Exactly.
So you just created an unconscious rule to say, I'm going to blame myself.
Exactly. So
the last part.
Thank you. I was just going to, confusing concepts, Jason.
This is a confusing concept. It's not simple to understand.
True.
When you hear the examples that, oh, that makes sense. But when you start to apply it to your own life,
Correct.
Very, very difficult. Very,
Yes.
Very hard to do.
Yes.
The way you do it is baby steps.
Yes.
Start with a specific issue. So if you're getting mad because your husband is leaving his underwear on the floor in the middle of in the bedroom, clear your anger about the
responsibility of it.
Yes, or whatever that you feel at the time.
Correct.
And then keep going and see what happens.
Yes.
Persistence is a huge part of this.
That is correct.
And remember, if you ask someone else, they don't understand this energy approach to life, and they don't understand negative or dark energy.
Yes.
So, a lot of times people go to other people for help with some of these issues, but it doesn't work very well. So
yes. All right, Jason, what is the summary of this segment?
When you have a root trauma or situation like being adopted, it can create issues.
Yes.
However, it's the rules and frames that a person creates for themselves that always causes the most havoc. These rules or frames are usually unconscious, and the behaviors they create can be especially toxic and harmful. In addition, they are difficult to see and then clear or eliminate. Most people never clear or heal these bad behaviors. They just figure out ways to cope or avoid them, and they can be the foundation of illness and disease. The most difficult toxic behaviors affect your emotional energy and can create addictions, illness, depression, mental health issues, all from the rules created from trauma and situations in your past.
Exactly. We're running out of time, so we're going to talk about how to do the clearing, meaning remove negative energy, in the next segment.
That sounds great.
Stay tuned when we come back. We're going to help you understand how to travel in time and uncover root issues and structures and behaviors that begin with these issues. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. The Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to help you understand how to travel in time and uncover root issues and structures and behaviors that begin with these issues. First, we're going to teach you how to clear. Jason?
It's very simple. You can have any posture you want. You can be standing, sitting, walking, laying down, standing on your head, doesn't matter. You don't have to be reverent.
I can't do it standing on my head. I'd like you to know that.
People think in terms of religion, and they want to be respectful and that sort of thing. You don't have to do any of that. This is energy. It works. It's not some sort of supreme being. You're just putting your intention out there in the world. Okay. So when we say to eliminate in your imagination, your mind's eye, gather up all the things we say to eliminate, whether it's emotions, veils and illusions, barriers, gather those things up, blow it into the processor. Moxie's going to put a picture of the processor up.
Thank you, Moxie.
Put it in the top. It gets processed.
Yes. And comes out neutral.
Neutral. And
Yes.
you can, in your mind's eye, you can put that processor any place you want, and you make it bigger if you can't catch it, so you always.
Yeah. In other words, missing it, things like that, throwing things in there. And by the way, you use the processor to throw negative energy into, because the last thing you want to do is sit down and be all zen when you're done. If you throw things on the floor or throw things around in the room, what happens is you get up and walk back into them. Don't waste your time.
Energy is a thing, and that's what people don't really understand. It's a real thing. So,
absolutely.
So let's start, and we'll do the activate life force in just.
That sounds good to me. Go right ahead. So,
here we go. I direct all my resources in all dimensions to eliminate the veils and illusions, so I can see that time travel is possible, and all I need is my imagination and some quiet time.
Nice and easy. Take a breath and get rid of those veils and illusions. Throw them in the processor. And I'm going to make it a little bit shorter, and to eliminate the barriers so I can see that the special advantage to going back in time using the ecosystem approach is going back in time to remove the hurt, the pain, the fear, the guilt, and many other things by clearing them. Take a breath. Clear the barriers that are keeping you from going back in time and getting rid of that negative energy. Jason?
And to eliminate the stress, anxiety, and overwhelm I have over and over again in my life because of some memory or memories or situations that cause these feelings in my history. Go to the root. Take a breath.
Take a breath. And throw it away.
All that stress and anxiety and overwhelm, it comes from someplace.
It does. In other words, it doesn't just happen, everyone. And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that the key to time travel is to go back in history and remove pain, fear, hurt, guilt from the past memories, and even recreate those memories in a positive way for me. And I have to say this, who knew?
Yeah.
And the answer is, we do. Take a breath. Throw away all of that stuff. It doesn't serve you.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that the root is for traumas that recycle in my life.
Yes.
Going to the root gets to the traumas that recycle. You don't want that.
Exactly. Pick it up, throw it away. And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that if I don't know what the root is, I can take the current situation or negative feeling and clear it, and then see what I remember. And by the way, in that, also clear the fear that it's going to hurt you again.
Yeah.
When the truth is, it doesn't. Take a breath. Throw it away.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that these memories are in layers. And as I uncover one, if I keep clearing, it will move forward and more layers will appear.
That's right. Take a breath. And to eliminate the barriers so I can see that with trauma or difficult situations, we can make up rules and beliefs that we are usually that are usually unconscious, that we must follow, that is based on the false belief that following these rules will prevent trauma in the future, when the truth is, no, it doesn't. Take a breath. Throw it away.
And to eliminate the barriers so I can see that these unconscious rules we make for ourselves can be the most debilitating and toxic, even though originally they were designed to keep us safe or to help us in some way.
Yes, take a breath. And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that uncovering root traumas and situations can be confusing, yes, and difficult to do and understand. But the key is baby steps and persistence. Nice and easy. Take a breath and throw all of that negative stuff away. Put it in the processor. Now, The next thing that I recommend highly is we activate life force. First off, it's the most powerful energy that we have access to. But when we remove negative energy, there's a space. Take and use life force to fill up that space, because life force will make your life so much better. And it goes like this. I direct all my resources in all dimensions to activate life force so I can use life force to heal and have hope and clarity, awareness, and objectivity, so I can see things, the truth of things, and then know that I can use this life force to help me understand not only who I am, but even the situation of now and in the past. You're going to pull this in through the top of your head. You're going to let it go to the tips of your toes. You're going to stop it right there. You're going to ask it to turn around. And in that, you're going to blow out any negative energies left over. Jason?
And to activate life force so I can have hope to have better mental health using time travel and clearing root traumas and situations.
Yes. Pull it in through the top of your head. Let it go through your body. And bring it back up and throw out any negative energies left over. And to activate life force so I can trust that removing root issues and negative energies will help my overall well-being and happiness. Wow, that's a great one.
Yeah.
Pull it in and throw out any negative energies that are blocking you from well-being and happiness.
And
Jason?
to activate life force so I can decide to use the ecosystem approach to time travel and heal my deep-seated issues.
Pull it in and blow it out. And to activate life force so I can be happy and healthy and have laughter and love and fun, joy, and have clarity and courage and confidence every single day to make my life better, and then help others make their lives better by using life force energy. Pull it in. And now blow out any negative energies left over. You don't need them. Nice. Jason, what are we going to talk about next week?
Carbon footprint.
Carbon footprint.
There's a major missing piece. This is really radical. You're not going to hear this anyplace else. This is huge, and I'm going to see if I can make the argument that the missing piece is actually more important than the amount of carbon in the atmosphere. So be sure and tune in.
This will be interesting.
We do call ourselves the ecosystem approach. There's a reason for that, but we believe in positive ecosystems, including the planet.
That's true. We do.
But this is the most important part, and it's often gone. So be sure to tune in and find out.
Okay. And does this have anything to do with technology and things I don't really understand?
No, nothing to do with technology. So,
I see.
So if you're thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, I need to time travel. I need to use an energy approach to my life. I need more of this.
Okay.
Here's what you do. First of all, listen to our show every week.
Okay.
Go to our website, theecosystemapproach.org. Sign up for our free section. You get the clearings written out with a picture of the processor every single week.
Okay.
And go to our YouTube channel. We have a YouTube channel now, The Ecosystem Approach on YouTube. And we also, theecosystemapproach.org is our address for Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
So you can find us. You can find us in a lot of different places. We're on TikTok, also theecosystemapproach.org. So go find us, listen to our show every week, and just start to absorb it. It's all there for you. We clear every week.
Well, I have one thing to add to that. If today's show did touch your heart, find yourself a friend that you can do the clearing with and bounce things off of. Remove negative energies together, because when you have a friend to work with, it really, really, really can make a difference.
Yeah.
And by the way, and then also go for a walk with that friend. It'll be good for you. Okay. We will connect next week, Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific and 4 p.m. Eastern Time. This is Transformation Talk Radio, and you're listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia.
Remember, your ecosystem is the most important one in the world.
Thank you for listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia. I'm Patricia. Tune in every week as we discuss practical ways to apply the ecosystem approach and develop your potential to live your life on your terms. For more information, visit our website at theecosystemapproach.org.